Everybody, and welcome to live stream number 55. I think we're on 55. It is Tuesday. It is the 12th of September 2017. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. If you're watching this, you are watching the recording. Haven't quite got anybody inside of the live stream. Well, there's Tommy. All right. Welcome, Tommy. Hey, if you're watching this and this is the first time that you come across this channel, really appreciate you taking the time to check out the video. So this is a live stream. You will find on my channel, you will find live streams, but you will also find like what I would like to call more polished videos. These live streams, about 15 to 30 minutes long, trying to attack some different aspects of Fusion 360. Down in the description area, you will find my email address, lars.christensen@autodesk.com. You're definitely more than welcome to send me an email with any future topics you would like to see on these live streams. Today's topic is about rails, and I also call them guide curves from another software I used to use. I talked about them last week when I talked about what's new, talking about using sweeps. Today, I thought I would talk about using them with lofts and kind of like give you an idea if you've never seen guide curves or rails before, kind of like get an understanding on how it really works. See here, we are in 2 minutes in. We got 21 people in here. Absolutely awesome to see all you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to join out of your busy day and come and join these live streams. I'm going to come back to the chat in the end, but let's get into today's topics, talking about control rails. Now, I like to do these kind of like not preparing, not trying to make it too fancy and prep and stuff like that. So what I thought we would do today is my daughter have a handful of these, I don't know what you call it. It's like artificial flavored things you put inside of water. It's probably some nasty stuff that you probably shouldn't be adding to a water. But I like the shape of this thing. That was what I was thinking we were going to use this for. And I got to be honest with you, I actually looked in my liquor cabinet, but whiskey bottles are just not that kind of like curved, fancy shape. So we're going to kind of like model up this shape here today, and then, go ahead and work with that. So this is kind of like going to be the shape. Let's get into to Fusion 360 here. All right. So I am going, and I'm, like I said, I'm just going to go, without preparing anything, and then we just see how it goes. It's always fun if I screw up in the middle. So I'm going to start out with creating a new sketch. And I'm going to sketch it here on the front view. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm kind of like going to just do a rectangle. This is how I like to do this. Do a rectangle on kind of like the overall shape of the box that's got to fit within. So I'm going to make this one 3 inches by 3 by 2. And this is not really important. But what this is kind of like the frame of the shape here. So what I did was this morning while the kids was eating breakfast, I actually snapped a picture of this on my counter. So if we go up here and hit insert and attach canvas, then we can actually insert this picture. So I'm going to select the face. I'm going to select that same face I had that sketch created on, and then I'm going to select an image. And here you will see, I just took this with my cell phone. This image, I'll bring that in. I'll go to the front view, and then of course it's laying down, so we can rotate it. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to just make it kind of fit within this box. And a lot of people ask me questions about like modeling techniques, and this is a pretty good way. You could also take a pair of verniers and kind of like start measuring this thing up, but this is kind of like a way to kind of like cheat and get something close that you can maybe start modeling up here. So I'm just going to move it around. So down, I'm looking for the bottom down here. It's kind of like lined up, and it fits pretty good with the with the fatness of it too here. Zoom out a little bit. You can see here. Yeah, so there's my kitchen counter. I'm glad to see that the green light on my electrical outlet, that is working. That is good to know. One other thing I want to show you over here is that you can change the opacity of this image, but actually can make it kind of nice. So I actually prefer to have it around like 30. So then it's kind of like just a shadow here. I'm going to hit OK to that. And here is now like this sketch over here that I kind of like made the outside. And then I have the canvas up here that I can kind of like turn on and off. All right. I guess that now I'm yapping away here. I realized that if you just came for the guide curves and the rails, it's going to be the end of this video. So if you're watching the recording, just speed ahead a little bit. Let's go ahead and start modeling up the shapes here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my origin on, spin the model around a little bit. I'm going to open up a sketch here on the bottom. I'm going to right click, create sketch, and that's going to take me up to the top view here. And I'm going to use a ellipse for this. Now, this is not going to be super accurate. I'm just going to try to get it close. I'm going to use the ellipse that you find right here. And I'm going to find the center of that rectangle that I created. So I know I'm kind of like in the center. So when you click on that, then you kind of like get this width of it. And I'm just going to rotate around and go along the edge and kind of like create where I think about the bottom is here. And just left click here. And then you will see my ellipse comes to life here. Now I'm going to make this one 1/2 inch because that's kind of like the thickness of our of this container for this Kool-Aid liquid, this nasty stuff. And it's kind of like unified thickness of it. So it's only like the width that changes. So then we have the first. We're going to use this Loft command for this. So I'm going to create another plane. So I talked about in these live streams before, you have all these different options up here. I'm just going to use an offset plane, and I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to drag that up, go to the front view here, and kind of place it about, it's probably hard to see in your screen, the plane here, but about where it's fat, where the fattest section is here. And if I was doing this for real life, I would probably round these numbers up and down. Do that. And then I'm going to create another ellipse on that. Right click, create sketch. And sketch ellipse. And again, just going to snap it into that same center point. Move it over so I can kind of like, and again, I'm just doing this. I mean, again, you could have measured this. So I'm just going to put it up to about there. And give it that thickness, again, of 1/2 inch. There we go. All right. So we're ending up with a couple of different sketches down here in the bottom. I'm going to create another one. Offset plane from this face. And I'm kind of placing these plane wherever my shape is kind of moving around. So place one here. Whoops. Right click, create sketch. Another ellipse. Repetition is key in learning. So I don't feel too bad that you now see me do the same thing over and over again. About there. That's good. And I'm going to make that one 1/2 inch. And let's create one last one just because we're only 8 minutes in here. Offset plane. Let's do one at the top here. Go back to the front. And I mean, if you were going to make this as a real, you probably would be a lot more accurate with the dimensions. But having these images is actually kind of nice to use, at least to rough things in, right? Create another ellipse from there, move it out a little bit, and that's going to be, so it looks like it's taking the same size. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, like that, 0.5. Okay, so if I go in here, stop the sketches, and let's turn the canvas off for a second. And the first sketch was that rectangle. What we ended up with here is these 4 ellipse shape, right? That kind of like follows the shape of this Kool-Aid nasty sugar drink. So now I'm going to go in and create a loft. I'm going to first show it without the rails, without the guide curves. Go ahead and create a loft. And I'm really just going to select these sections here. And you will see that it starts making form in here. And a couple of things I just want to point out too while we're in here. that you can actually, the start and the end, you can actually change how they approach. So right now it's called free. If I hit the drop down, I can actually do direction. Now look at the shape, how it changes. So you have, so it's kind of like going the direction of that shape, or go kind of like more organic. And we can do that with the start shape too. If I go direction, you will see that it kind of like pulls in that direction. And if we go in free, it kind of like follows the shape. All right, we're going to do rails just in a second, but let's just take a look at this. I'm going to hit OK to this, and then I'm going to turn on my canvas again. And if you look at that, I go to the front view, it actually looks pretty dang good, right? Like, we have taken most of the shape here. Now, we could go to our, here's another trick, go to our bodies folder, right click. We can actually go to opacity control down here, and we could try to turn this like maybe to 50. And you can kind of see that, man, that follows very well without anything in there. I mean, you know, when you think about my camera skills with my cell phone and things like that, this might actually be pretty perfect. But I'm trying to show a point here. So this is, of course, we got to add these guide rails. So here's a thing. So let's move back down here in the history tree. See, here's a little trick. I'm going to move this one back. So now it's like that never happened, right? That extrusion. That's a neat thing about down here if you're new to Fusion. I can roll back, and now I can add these guide curves and then add them back to this shape here. So I'm going to create a new sketch for this guide curve here. Now if we're looking at it right here, we can see that we're following pretty good, but there is some areas here that might not be completely good. So that's where we can control these rails. I'm going to open a new sketch, right click, create new sketch. And for this, I'm actually going to go and use a spline. Now, I've talked about splines before on the live stream, but let's just fire them up again. So the spline, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of like place them about the areas where I actually have my ellipses in here, and just kind of like place them right at these edges. And then I can hit the little green check mark here. Now, the cool thing about splines is that you get these handles, and you can pull in these handles. You can completely control the shape. So if you've never seen splines before, that is pretty cool. Now, what I'm actually going to do with this spline here, I'm going to attach it to those sketches that we created before. So you can use with splines, you can actually use relationships. So I can go over here and I can say I want to create a coincident relationship between this point on the spline to this point of the ellipse. And I can go up, and I'm going to do that with those points that I created and attach them to this ellipse here. Okay. I hope that kind of makes sense. So now they are kind of like attached to that. Now let's go to the front view and look a little bit here. So we can see that we are, when we do that, because we hadn't really moved on the handles, well, I moved on a little bit. If I had not moved to the handles, you would actually have seen that it would have followed that exact shape that our solid had, because that's kind of like how it defaults. Now I get an option that I can actually tweak this in to kind of be closer to what we want. So now you can start moving things around here. Now, be also aware that splines, not only did I use the coincidence to attach them to the ellipse, you can actually also, and this can actually be a nice thing to do, you can add relationship to the spline handles themselves. So I can make this spline handle vertical, just like that, with a vertical relationship. So now I cannot move it sideways, but I can move it up and down. So that can give you a little bit kind of better control. All right, so let me just tweak this a little bit here and try to see if I can somehow, this spline point is of course a little bit away, but let's see here if we can maybe pull this shape a little bit closer to what we actually want. So now it's actually not half bad, is it? If you're looking at this, I think I'm okay with that. So we kind of like following a little bit better here. Now we need to do something up here later on, but we're definitely following the area better right now. Now I'm gonna do another thing while we're in here. I'm actually gonna go up and create another line, and I'm gonna snap a line to the midpoint here, and just draw a vertical line up here, and I'm gonna make that one construction. Hit X on my, or if I select it, make it a construction, because what I'm going to do, I'm lazy, I am going to mirror that spline here over this line here, so I get the same kind of curve here. All right, I'm going to hit OK to this. Now, right now, I'm just going to stop the sketch, and I'm going to move my timeline back to where we can see where we were before. So this is what we had before when we didn't have any rails. So it followed the shape pretty good down here. It does kind of like curve in here, and then it follows pretty good here. So here comes the magic. If I go into this feature for our loft, and we go over and we select the guide rail, and I select this spline, it will pull the solid towards that rail. And you will actually see, I'm going to select this one first, you will actually see that it pulls then away from over here. It kind of snaps the whole shape over there. Do you see that? So now the whole shape over here looks nice with the rail, but you can see that it pulled away from over here. Let me exit out of it. Back to where we were before. So that's kind of like the organic loft. Now I'm going to snap that rail, and look what happens over this side over here. It pulls it the whole solid towards that. You can kind of like imagine how this line becomes magnetic, and it pulls everything. But that was why I created the other one, so I can pull it back again by selecting that one. So we kind of went from a ordinary loft that did a decent job on this shape here, to when we add these guide rails to really have a much better control over the whole shape here. Hit OK, and you will now see that we kind of have that. Let me hide the sketches. So now we kind of have that shape here of this. Now we could also have added some guide rails on the right side here and pull the shape out also. You can have multiple kind of rails on parts here. So this here, I think, gave us a pretty decent result. I hope that was helpful. If it went a little fast, it will be up on YouTube. As soon as I hit this live stream, it will be up on YouTube in like 30 minutes or so. So don't, you can definitely go and check it out if you want to follow along again. But I hope that this was a good explanation about not only how you would model something like this with Loft, but how these rails are really like pulling in the shape. Now, some of you guys maybe are kind of asking about, what if, wouldn't I use like the sculpt environment for this, or could I build this out of in the patch environment? And yes, you absolutely could use these other kind of platforms for whatever you kind of like you want. Like in the sculpt area, you would be kind of pulling in kind of like the sheet to make it fit that. And again, if sculpt is new for you, look in the live streams. We've done some couple of live streams on sculpting, and the patch area with surfaces, where you then could have sketched up the surfaces, and then you could have in the end stitched them into a solid. All different tools in the toolbox for whatever you want. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do me a favor, hit the thumbs up. If you don't, be honest, hit the thumbs down. That's fine with me. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I really appreciate if you will do that. And then if you hit that little notification bell, then you should get notified about these live streams. Tomorrow, Wednesday, tomorrow is an hour earlier, so it is 2 p.m. Eastern. That's the same time zone as New York City. And we're going to talk about managing your files. Kind of like a little bit of like housekeeping when it comes to your data. We're going to talk about how it kind of like works in the cloud, copy projects, and stuff like that. I'm not going to talk about really an Fusion team. We're going to talk more about like for an individual user. We have 82 people in here, which is absolutely awesome. Really appreciate all you guys taking the time out of your busy day. I can see we have a bunch of comments in here. Really appreciate you guys are doing that. I am going to do what I normally do. I'm going to end the broadcast. So if you're watching the recording, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the videos. And then I'm going to jump into the live stream and into the chat and say hi to everybody. So, hope you got something out of this. I'm going to throw this in the garbage so kids don't drink all that sugar. I'm glad it was not my Scotch bottle. That would not have gone in there. Until the next time, I hope you have an awesome, awesome day. See you in the live stream chat. If I can find my mouse. That is. Take care.